Hello, I am Mr. Henricks and welcome to Great Books 1. I'm glad that I'm going to be able to be your teacher, and I've created this video to give you some insight on the details of how GBT1 works, what to expect, and how to be able to use the resources that are given to you on our website. Now, you will be going to our website a lot, so I hope you've already been there already, but of course the website address is gbt.org. And if you go here on the website, the place that you'll be coming a lot is the GBT1 page. To get there, you click on the tutorials link, you come down here to Great Books, then over to Great Books 1, and then the reading list. Now at the top of this page you will see that there are a number of videos included on the page, and I would encourage you to watch these videos. A lot of times it's very important to understand what we're trying to accomplish in GBT, and these videos are collections of various alumni who have gone through GBT and are reflecting upon what it meant to them, how it has affected their lives, and how it's been beneficial to them. These videos are good for helping you gain perspective on what we're attempting to accomplish in GBT. It also gives you some nice inspiration to see some of the older students that have come before you and part of the tradition that you are part of. Now, on the GBT page here, you'll also notice that we have a curriculum guide. This little page is helpful to you just to look at how you might structure a high school and junior high curriculum around great books. The important thing to keep in mind is that there's 4 things that you need to have in your schedule: great books, math, science, and a language. Now those are the 4 main categories to look at and try and develop a good high school curriculum, and this little guide here will help you in seeing what are some of the subjects that might go along with your great books education. All of these suggestions are just suggestions, and every student is going to put together a program in a different form, but this is just a guide to give you a general idea. As you scroll down here, you can see the Great Books reading list. Now, there's actually the reading list for all 5 of the Great Books on this one page, and each week is given a specific reading. And you'll notice for the first week of GBT1, you have the Iliad, books 1 and 2, and that's given as pages 77 through 128 in the standard text. Now, I would really recommend, particularly during GBT1, to always purchase the standard text that I recommend. There are lots of other texts out there, but many times you'll find that it will be confusing to try to follow along in class if you use those other texts. All right, also you may wonder, if you get lost in your schedule, how to figure out which week we are on. Well, you don't want to email me about that. You want to go right to the web page because it's very easy to find. On the web page, you just go up to here where it says, let's see, on our information on the welcome page, you scroll down here, and there is actually a schedule listed that gives you every week of the year and what number it is. So if you can see for 2015, June 7th through 11th was week number 1. Okay, so you can always find your week number right there quite easily. All right, and so going back to the Great Books page, your readings are given to you here throughout the year. If you scroll down, you also have weekly quizzes to take. Now, these weekly quizzes, you just click on them, it'll take you to a page, and you can go ahead and take the quiz. Now, your score on these quizzes is something that you keep record of yourself. You do not have to report to me weekly. You just send that report to me at the end of the semester, and I will include that as part of your evaluation. Now, you also have papers to do. If you notice back up here on the GBT reading list, it is always given which week the paper is due. So week number 7, you have your first paper due. That's paper number 1. And it's always due Friday at midnight of that week. All right, so if week number 7, go the Friday of that week, and then at midnight Pacific time, that paper will be due. All right, now in order to write the papers, you need to look at the paper guide, so please go to the paper guides page, and for each of your 6 papers this year, you have a guide that gives you detailed instructions on how to write that paper. Not only the structure that's expected of it, but also just guides and helps on helping you become a better writer. So there's lots of information here. You want to take a lot of time with this page and make sure you're well acquainted with the information it gives. You also have weekly questions. Now, these weekly questions, once again, are not sent to me on a weekly basis. You complete them on a weekly basis, but these weekly questions are simply given to you as a help to be able to understand your reading better. So as you go along, please fill these questions out. Local students can do them on a piece of paper. Online students will need to do them in a word processor so that you can email that document to me at the end of the semester. Now, also you'll notice in your weekly questions you have various Greek words that come up. You'll notice in your Greek papers you're always required to use one Greek word or phrase. And in your weekly questions you're given Greek words. I'll talk about them in class, and so you can always find those right here. You'll also have some link to various pictures that I think are helpful to go along with your reading, and we'll get to those as we go along later. All right, those are your weekly questions. Now, below the reading list, you'll see my list of specific editions. And as I've said before, you really do want to use the specific editions that I recommend, as that will make it much easier for you to follow along in class. And you'll also notice that if you click on these, here it'll take you to Amazon.com. And very often you can buy them at substantial discount used. And if you can see here, the Iliad you can get for $15.90 used. If you look here under see all 27 formats, you can go down to the paperback edition and you can get the used for 98 cents. So quite often you get very inexpensive versions. I do recommend getting hardback versions. They last a long time and you'll be able to pass them down to the family members and be able to use them again. All right, if you go down to the beginning of Great Books 2, you'll see there is a notice about the geometry requirement. All GBT students are required to take my geometry class during either GBT 1 or GBT 2. Most students take it during GBT 2. So please do take note that that is required. Another note about the papers is that you will have a paper grader that will be assigned to you. That will either be me or my wife or one of my alumni or current GBT 5 students. So please do not email the paper to me, but remember you need to wait until you know who your paper grader will be before sending those in. Also, at the end of each semester, you will receive a semester evaluation. That will help you understand how well you're doing in class and give you the opportunity to have my own reflections on how well you've been participating in our discussions. Also, another requirement that is part of Great Books is that for all local students, this requirement does not apply to online students, but all local students are required to take 1 year of choir with me during Great Books 1, 2, or 3. And so if you would like to go on to Great Books 4, you need to have completed that choir requirement. But once again, that only applies to local students. I would like for my online students to be able to do some choir in some fashion, but it is not a requirement to take my choir course. Now, local students, you'll also notice we do a lot of singing. During a local class, at the middle of each class, we'll stop and take a break just to sing. And whether or not you take choir or not, you will be singing in class with me. So that's just part of what we do at GBT. It's a wonderful way that we have of building a sense of group and being able to enjoy one another's presence together. Now, during Great Books 2, I do have what I call my academic advancement policy. And during Great Books 1, I encourage you to participate in our classes and encourage you to get involved in our discussions. But I know that oftentimes it can be intimidating. And yet, during Great Books 2, you are required to be involved in our discussions. And if you are not able to accomplish that by the end of Great Books 2, I will recommend that you wait to continue on to go to Great Books 3 until you are older. I do really require my students to be participating in our discussion because this is a discussion-based class. You do need to be able to participate in the discussion verbally and be ready to do that if I'm really to know how you are doing and for you to be able to effectively benefit from this class. Now, oftentimes the ISP or charter school that you happen to be involved with will require an academic description of GBT. This is something that you can find on the GBT page. If you look at the GBT page, if you go down to the bottom, there are academic descriptions given of each year. And so if you scroll down here, it's just about the very bottom. And so here they are. Oftentimes this is necessary in order to be able to fulfill the bookkeeping requirements for your school. Also, sometimes schools will ask what credits to give for GBT. And if you notice down here, there's also a credits breakdown link that you can use. This takes you to a chart that shows you each year of GBT and how it can be broken down into conventional subject categories like English and history and civics, that sort of thing. Also, we do ask that the local students take care that while they're here on the property, they do observe the rules. You are welcome to have younger siblings come. However, parents, we do ask that whenever younger siblings come, that they always be accompanied by their parents and that you keep them in your sight. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Also, while you are on the property, we ask that there be no running. Please always walk. Also, we do ask that whenever you are on the property that there be no wheeled vehicles. We do have chess for you. We have ping pong. We have croquet. We have basketball. A number of lovely opportunities for you to exercise yourself, but we do ask that wheeled vehicles not come onto the property, and if there's any wheeled vehicles that my children have, that those be left simply for my children. So thank you very much. Now, I'd also like to show you just a little bit about the other offerings that ETS has. If you'll come to our website, you'll notice there's a number of different courses that we give. Now, if you look here, we have Euclid's Elements, and I've already talked about that. That is required of all students during GBT 1 or 2. We also have Shakespeare. Now, Shakespeare is not required. However, I do offer Shakespeare for free. So during Great Books 4, if you'd like to take Shakespeare, that is available to you. We also have the Classical Greek program, which is also free to my GBT students. There's 2 years of Classical Greek, and you can take that during Great Books 2 and 3. I do encourage you to think about that. I know it's a challenge, but you'll notice that there's lots of ways in which understanding Greek is a great aid to being able to understand our books better. And also, if you look here, we have the Math and Science course. This is oftentimes taken during Great Books 5, and this course is not free. However, it's a great opportunity for you to understand and learn better what's been going on in math and science while you've been reading the 5 years of Great Books. All of the different topics intertwine and relate to one another, and there is a lot of interesting things that have been going on in the history of math and science as well while you've been reading the books and Great Books, which tend to be more literature and philosophy, theology, and civics, and that sort of thing. Also, you'll notice here you have the choir. You can get information on our choir program here. Choir includes now music theory, and so even if you don't have a musical background, it will be teaching some of music theory as well. Also, you want to come down here and look at our class times. The class times page gives you all of the classes that are available in each year. You notice there's 2 charts, one for odd years and one for even years. So right now we're in 2015, so we're on the odd year chart. But if you would like to see what class times classes will be next year, just look to the even year chart. And these 2 charts will show you where all the class times will be. I try to keep those as regular as I can. Sometimes I do make changes, but that's the class times there. Also, this little clock on the page shows you exactly what time it is here in Escondido. So you can look at that and know if you're coming to class at the right time if you happen to be an online student. All right, you also want to see here the other resources available here. You want to take a look at my Europe trips. We have Europe trips that are available. And this upcoming year, the spring of 2016, we'll have a actually in the spring of 2016 we would usually have an Italy trip, but we will not be having an Italy trip. In the spring of 2017 we will have a Greece trip, and usually it's in the spring of the odd years we go to Greece, spring of the even years we will go to Italy. So you can see more information about those trips on the Europe trips page. Also here there are different resources on our website, various articles about classical education. Also, for you local students, we have Escondido local resources. These are a lot of local teachers that I know that have classes that are very good and worthy of your consideration. So there's a lot of local resources available there. And then here, this translations page, this gives you the translations to all of the phrases that you see on my web page. All right, so if you look on these here, you can see the translations that are given for the various quotes that are in foreign language. Now you look at those, you can see those translations. And also, for those of you who would like to be coming to our local activities, I love to have people join in our band. And if you'd like to join in our band, I have a whole section here on bluegrass tutorials. Not really a tutorial, but music that you can use to play along with the songs that we usually do at our events. So if you'd like to play guitar, fiddle, or banjo, please take some time to learn these songs and join our band. I have a list here of other tutorials as well. These are different tutorials that other people offer that I support. Also, you have the yearbook. You can see lots of the events from previous years. You do have to have the password for that, and I will email that out so that you can have that and go in and see some of our earlier activities. Also here, we have lots of different resources here. This is an important page. This is the events page. And the events page gives you a listing of all the events we're going to have here locally throughout the year. So already you can see we have our Back to Moon Full Moon dance coming up. October 23rd, we have our Oktoberfest. And so you have the listing of all the events there and the information that you need. I will send out email reminders about those as well, but they're all right here. Also, please, particularly local students, pay attention to our dress code. Online students too, please do pay attention to the dress code. It is an issue, particularly now as we have video cameras in class. How you dress is important. So please do pay attention to that dress code. And let's see here. I think that's pretty much everything. When you come to online class, you will click on the WebEx Classroom page and you'll enter into our classroom at that time. And even for the local students, there's probably going to be some time throughout the year that I will do a class online, and it's a good idea to have that installed and ready on your computer. Lastly, let me say a little bit about the purpose of great books. You may wonder why you're taking this course. I hope you have some understanding of that by now. However, let me say it's very important to understand that the primary goal of GBT is to seek wisdom. Now, one might ask, why would you seek wisdom? Well, wisdom is the primary purpose of the human mind. Now, you might think of there being many objects that have various purposes. Hammers have purposes. A boat has a particular purpose to it. Yet the mind has a purpose as well, and that purpose is to seek wisdom. Now, you might ask, well, what is wisdom, and why should we seek wisdom? Well, this is a more complicated topic, and I would refer you to my, my video on why read the great books, as that goes into this topic in more detail. But to make it short, you need to understand that wisdom is basically the outflowing of God's nature. And that is something that we study through the Bible and through nature itself and by our own reflection. And what we're trying to do in GBT is develop your mind to be able to engage that task most effectively, to use your mind well, to pursue its development, and to be able to clearly come to the point where what your mind was created for, it can do properly. So, I know GBT is not the easiest of classes to take. However, I really do believe that it is the finest approach to trying to seek wisdom throughout your years of education. To develop your mind by pursuing the difficult questions, by looking at books that pursue ideas that are oftentimes challenging, but at the same time the most critical and the most fundamental to what it means to be human and to live the life that God has given us to live. With that, again, I thank you very much, and I'm glad to be your teacher and look forward to spending time with you in GBT.